I'm Peter Melchett. I'm Policy Director at the Soil Association, where I've worked for 15 years, and I'm an organic farmer in the east of England. It's an incredibly important gathering, the tech section, the Organic Round Table particularly, of organic interests from all over the world. I've learned more in the different meetings I've been lucky enough to attend about what goes on in India and China and Africa than it's possible to imagine learning at an average get-together or conference. And it's a place where things are set in train. And Textile Exchange has access to incredible information. They've done some really important work in making that information available so that somebody like me can go and have meetings with some of these big brands and say, look, here are the figures on climate change. Here are the figures on water use. Now, you say you want to do the right thing, but you're not doing it. On the whole, in Western Europe, and certainly in a country like the United Kingdom, and I think probably we have a bit in common with the US here, the link between what happens on a farm producing cotton and the clothes you buy is quite tenuous for most people. I mean, I suspect most people don't know cotton is grown as a crop. And they certainly won't know an organic farm is grown in a rotation with food crops which help the farmer feed themselves and their family and their local community. I mean, all of that is quite difficult. Even getting people to accept in my country that meat doesn't all come wrapped in plastic but actually comes from an animal can be quite a struggle. So the idea that cotton, So I think what people say and what companies know is that people trust the brands they use to do the right thing. They expect the brands to know where cotton comes from, that it's a crop, it grows in India and Africa and China, and they expect the big companies to know that. And they get very upset, I think rightly, if the companies turn around and say, we've just had this appalling accident, we've discovered hundreds of thousands of people have been poisoned, but don't blame us. What surprises me, frankly, is how much confidence and trust consumers have in some brands which I wouldn't touch with a barge pole. So it actually works that way around. And those brands' businesses depend on maintaining that trust and confidence. There's a bit more cynicism and a bit more realism in the way, for example, in the UK, the big multiple retailers are seen by customers. And certainly younger people are swapping around more, but they're also buying more online and much more direct from farmers when it comes to food. So expectations are changing. What is certainly true is that we're seeing, particularly with the younger generation, much readier access to information. So the ability to look at where the meat comes from, what the farm is like, how the cow lived, how the cow was killed, which was true in my childhood when you went to a village and you went to a butcher who'd killed the animal he was cutting up and selling you, then disappeared completely in multiple retailers and big companies. I think technology is bringing some of that knowledge and information back again. People see these huge chemical companies like Monsanto and Bayer, for example, as a great threat to a nascent organic movement. But these chemical companies, the big six, are all merging into, big eight, into four. The latest is Monsanto and Bayer. And one interpretation of that, which appeared in the British press just a few days back, is that actually this indicates a shrinking market and the prospects going forward for more organic and agroecological pesticide-free farming. Now, if you don't buy pesticides, and I'm an organic farmer in England, we don't have any dealings with these companies. What they do doesn't, frankly, matter to me. It matters to my neighbours who are non-organic, but not to us. So I'm not sure they have much say in the future of our sort of farming, and I'm glad about that. Many representing farmers in India farming 1 or 2 hectares compared to my 350-odd hectares in the east of England, and there are many, of course, much bigger farms there, all of us have to sell what we produce. And all of us have to live off those sales, regardless of our philosophy, of our enthusiasm for organic, our love of nature, which I think we all share as organic farmers, our concern about the health effects of pesticides, the disastrous impacts of GM crops all over the world, cotton and others. We all share that, but we all need to sell. And we're only going to grow organic cotton globally if we can persuade big companies, often huge multinationals, that it's in their interests and what their customers want and expect of them, that they should source organic cotton. And it comes through a variety of pressures, some of which will be through cooperation, and certainly talking is really important. And I think evidence is really important, being able to say how much less blue water organic farming, organic cotton production uses. We know that it doesn't use pesticides, and that's really the biggest problem immediately for human health and the environment in non-organic cotton. The story we have to tell on climate change and organic cotton, and particularly the story we have to tell about conserving carbon in the soil in organic farming generally, the academic evidence is pretty clear now. But have we got that through to companies? Not yet.